Style and substance. Two words that come to my mind first up when I think about this special guest of mine. Kumar Sangakkara, thank you so much for taking your time out and being my special guest on the RK Show.
It's a pleasure, and I'm not sure about the word style, but that's a bit of a reach. But thank you, I'll take it.
No. I mean, the world calls it. I'm just echoing the thoughts of what the world of cricket is talking about, right? But I've got to address you as Mr. President, isn't it? The president of the MCC. How's it going? And what do you expect, Sangha, going forward? Because we've been going through some troubled times. As somebody who's the president of MCC, how do you look forward to the game when it all eventually opens up?
I mean, everyone's looking forward to the day that the world opens up and sport, especially in our context, cricket, is played again. But it could be that for quite a long period of time, there might be new rules, regulations, and behavior patterns that govern the restarting of these games, whether it's behind closed doors, in biosecure environments, as they are saying. It's going to be a bit of a process and a lengthy journey to try and get them back to what it was before the COVID-19 pandemic. But it's going to be a process that we need all stakeholders to work together, to understand, to work with medical professionals, players, families, whole countries, everyone to contribute and partner in trying to do what is best, not just for the game, but the lives that are playing this game as well. And watching the game. So it's a big responsibility.
Interesting. I mean, have you personally thought through this in terms of how the world of cricket per se could change? I know you need to talk to the stakeholders, yes, but in terms of, people are talking about the use of saliva or possibly not going forward. I know these are nitty-gritties, but have you had a chance to sit down and think about what could be the future of cricket per se?
Yeah, it again depends on very informed expert advice on what can be done and what can't be done. And they all have to, then again, in terms of living life, be tempered with a very smart but commonsensical approach to us understanding that it is almost a new normal until maybe a vaccine is developed or if the virus just disappears like others have done, or there is immunity, or whether that's permanent or long-lasting. We don't know the answers to these questions. So until we have more information and we're able to better answer the questions that seem to be suddenly changing almost every day, new information, sometimes it moves the goalposts forward with this virus. So or changes the goalpost with this virus. So it's a really tough situation for everyone to be in. But it also affects the fundamental where the game has been played. I've had a chat with coaches in the game, and one very fundamental point was raised about saliva being used and whether artificial substances can be used to shine the ball. And in light of what happened, in the last 2 years or 3 years with the controversy surrounding artificial substances, now again it's come to the fore. But instead of it being looked down upon, now it's where they say, okay, how can we still keep the integrity of the game, but still allow for these drastically different times and circumstances to allow the playing of this sport. So it's interesting times. Not very easy to try and solve all of these, but I think, again, like I said, partner with everyone, be proactive and progressive.
Interesting thought, that, because I understand where you're coming from, because I mean there will be one section which will almost straight away say that it's almost like legalizing ball tampering. So you can understand, because you're trying to affect the condition of the ball. But let's move on, Sangha, because I need to talk to you as an administrator, as a batsman, as a cricketer, because you've fulfilled so many roles yourself. As an administrator, there are different forms of cricket that exist. I mean, obviously, you're talking test matches, ODI, T20. There's obviously talk about 100. It could have happened, but it's due to happen the next year. There is enough space for every one of these formats to coexist, you reckon?
Well, they will have to. I think one cannot be valued above another in terms of um, tradition, history, the culture of the sport. But there are certain indications that show that some newer formats or shorter formats seem to be more palatable to larger groups of spectators in terms of numbers around the world. There is a very drastically changing age demographic. When you consider cricket spectators around the world, it becomes younger and younger. The average age of a spectator becomes younger and younger and lower when it comes to Asia, and you move to more England, Australia, the average age rises. So appeal is very important in terms of format. And the word balance, and we're very careful about using the word balance because you're never going to find a perfect balance anymore. It's about coexisting. And you can see by the revolution of T20 cricket, its influence in terms of how tours are structured, the leagues that have sprung up like the IPL and the others around the world, and the freedom it's given players around the world to move in and out of international and national contracts has really changed the landscape of the game. And these are not all bad things, but at the same time, administrators, players, spectators, they all have a symbiotic relationship. They feed off one another, and it has to be mutually beneficial. So each format has a place, but the real question is going to be, how do we again have the best player that play each format, playing for longer in front of their home fans, and playing those, and having that stage to display their skills. Day-night Test cricket was touted, 4-day Test crickets, is Test cricket dying? All of these things, but the real challenge is converting this love for Test cricket, love for another format that everyone has around the world, into actually more people coming into grounds and watching the game. And that is really key. So going back to your earlier question, can you imagine playing in closed stadium with no spectators, everyone watching from home? One of the biggest challenges to administrators around the world, home boards, has been, how do we get more crowds into a test match? How do we do that? And now that opportunity, whether you can or not, is immaterial, because on health advice, you cannot. So it again depends on how long we have to go through this challenging time. And then beyond that, when crowds are permitted again, how does that work in terms of that challenge of getting more and more people to enjoy a format like Test cricket, younger people to come? So there are various challenges in front of us, and everyone's looking for the right answer. It takes some time.
You've grown up watching a lot of Test cricket. You've played a lot of Test cricket at the highest level. And you've also obviously played T20 cricket, the glitz and glamour that is associated with it. Around you, do you see youngsters wanting to be a part of the Test squad? Because on the positive side, you've got the leaders like Virat, Kohli and others advocating Test cricket. But on the ground, is it in sync with what the likes of Virat, Kohli have been advocating?
Well, I think players love Test cricket, without a doubt. The greatest Test players going around the world today, who have played the game before, all talk about Test cricket with a lot of emotion, love, and passion. The newer, younger players also understand what it means to go into the Test record, into Test history as being one of the best or one of the great. I don't think there is any issue with that in terms of that love and passion. But there is a question of how we motivate those players then to really commit to a Test career and a long Test career. If Test cricket is looked upon as the prime format, are they getting the right reward in terms of playing a longer Test career? Everything about your prime format should be a premium, including your match, including your profile. How many players do we now talk about as Test heroes, or built up, or there is a narrative built around Test players to build them up to be iconic? You do that in IPL and T20s around the world, but we lack that in terms of Test cricket. You also have the Test Championship, which is a great initiative. But if it is a benchmark world tournament, there should be a central backing in terms of marketing and feeding it out to the general public of the world. There needs to be the glitz, glamour, the punch behind a World Test series that warrants the fact that this is that must do justice to the fact that this is the prime format. We talk about Ireland and Afghanistan, two wonderful cricket teams. I mean, I was there at Lord's when Ireland really challenged England in their test match there. Is it right that two infant test playing countries are playing only one or two test matches a year and almost none against some of the top countries in the world for a long period of time? So how do they learn and how do they progress? Is it fair then to accord them test status, but then keep them in almost isolation for a long time? So it is not an easy place for administrators to be in. These are all questions that need answers.
What do you look for in a very, very good batsman? Who, according to you, simply put, is a good batsman?
A good batsman, someone who is effective at the end of the day. Batting is about converting your ability, talent, whatever you want to call it, into quantifiable performances, which at the end of the day is run. Hundreds, 50s, match-winning knocks, match-saving innings, whatever. At the end of the day, your output has to stack up. And you can talk about grace, beauty, technical excellence, grittiness, everything. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do or how you do it, you have to score the runs. And that, to me, is a good or great batsman.
Fantastic that you said that. Interesting that you say that, because when I look at your career, you've had 11 double centuries. That's an outstanding record. So in terms of, I've heard Graham Gooch possibly talking about scoring hundreds and daddy hundreds. In terms of actually going there and making it happen, how do you make that happen in terms of converting the 50s or the hundreds into those big double hundreds?
Well, it's a lot about understanding the process of your own batting, understand how to motivate yourself through an innings. A lot of improvement happens when you know yourself as your personality, your character, your emotional states. And once you recognize that about yourself, then it's very easy to strategize and plan what to do with your talent and your technique and how to become effective, how to plan your practice. Because at the end of the day, really good, smart, and thorough practice is what gives you confidence to go to a game and face the bowlers and try and score those runs. So when you are batting through an innings, you have to understand the ebb and flow of pressure, the advantage, and when to press home an advantage, when to absorb the pressure and stay quiet, how to rotate strike so you are giving yourself breathers in between tough periods of play when you are finding a certain bowler not an easy task. When do you change gear? How do you accelerate or decelerate in an innings? When do you target a part-time bowler that's brought in to provide relief to the main bowler? So all of these little things you have to build in as habit into your game. For me, the toughest part many times was getting to that initial 100. But once I realized the pattern of play that helped me to go from 100 to a double 100, I just try to rinse and repeat that. Of course, pitches, oppositions, conditions, all of that may vary through an innings, but the process is still the same. If I'm a coach, if I'm a batting coach, my method is not what I'm going to impose on someone else. It's got to be customized and fit the player profile, the player character, everything about that character, his ego, his emotional strengths or weaknesses. All of that is important.
Yeah, interesting, because in your case, it's not just about you, the batsman, who's going there and scoring runs. Because when it was your first double 100, for example, you kept wickets. It was against Pakistan. You kept wickets, and then you came out to bat. I guess Marwan Atapattu was out the very first delivery, or he got out very, very early, and then you went on to score that double 100. So it's not just about you scoring runs. It's also about the physical exhaustion and the mental exhaustion as well, Sangha.
Yeah, and also it helps when you have a flat wicket like that particular game. But yeah, I mean, those are things that you have to accept and learn to deal with. Physical fatigue, you can build up your reserves in terms of fitness, and also in terms of managing the tempo of your inning, uh, and ensuring that you're physically primed at every stage of the innings to get through that passage of play. Mentally, it's about being prepared, being confident, but also knowing how to switch on and off between deliveries, between overs,
How do you
when
do
to
that?
talk
How did you
cricket.
do that, Sangha?
Again, it's quite customized to players. Everyone has their own methods. Like when I go in, I would have watched a little bit of the bowling on TV, watch the swing, the seam, seam movement, the bounce of the pitch on TV, try to get an understanding. Of course, we do all our video analysis before. You'd have trained according to the bowling that you were going to face in similar conditions, so you're ready. So you go out, and then you try and wait until you give yourself the time, as they say, to play yourself in. You know, that is always what I say. When people talk about timing, it's not just about just hitting the ball with minimal effort and watching it, you know, and being graceful, watching it fly to the boundary. Timing is about getting into sync with the pace of play on the day. So it's about conditions of the pitch, the swing, the pace of the ball, the run up of the ball, your own physical well-being on the day. Are you stiff? Are you not? Are you so? So it takes a while to get into sync with what's happening around you, and that is timing.
In terms of embracing change, look, so many things have changed. Analytics have taken over big time in the world of cricket. So when does a batsman look extensively at analytics, and when does he allow his instinct to take over? Is it our batsmen coming through becoming extra reliant on the computers and the analytics, therefore?
No, that's all information that you need, and you can choose how much you need or how little you need, or whether you need it at all. And it depends certain times that, you know, on your mindset as well. If you're confident, you'll use that, you know, smartly and in a manner that gives you what you need. When times of low confidence and when you're so-called in a poor patch of form, you sometimes tend to find yourself relying on that analysis a lot more, just to try and, you know, kind of eradicate any doubts in your mind as to how well prepared you are. You have to be very careful with a lot of data and analysis. Sometimes you can analyze situations to such minute detail that everything looks a negative. So you need to be very careful and have that balance about all that data, and you can process all of that. At the same time, it's about, you know, mental skill, not just mental toughness. It's about mental skills, being able to understand how to balance out, you know, your thinking about your game, reading of play, the passages of play. And you said the word instinct. That is exactly why we practice. When we start as a youngster, all the movements in cricket, they're not instinctive, other than probably to duck, to evade being hit by a bumper. It becomes habit and instinctive through training of your mind and your muscle memory. And a lot of the time, when you go into the middle to bat, the mistake we do is, if you're stuck in our analysis mode and we start thinking and overthinking things, it gets in the way of what your body and mind have been trained to do, which is watch the ball and react. The millions of balls that you've hit growing up has trained your muscles and your eyes to gauge length, to understand which shot to play to which delivery, and it's almost instinctive. But you get your mind involved, and in the way, it slows you down. It makes you, you know, kind of second guess your instinctive kind of reaction. And that is why you need time. That's why you say batsman is playing yourself in. Because once you've played yourself in, you've gone from that thinking mode into reaction mode. And then everything falls into place because your mind is not in the way of letting your body do what it knows to do.
And in terms of setting standards, the first name that comes to my mind when I look at contemporary cricketers is Virat Kohli. Your thoughts, Sangha, because I mean, you've seen him grow from what he was to what he is now. He's a picture of consistency. He never seemingly gets tired, full of energy. Your thoughts on Virat Kohli, the batsman, the bundle of energy that he is?
Well, I think he does get tired, but he's phenomenally fit.
Sure.
I know and I've seen and heard of his amazing commitment and dedication to being the best that he can be, both on and off the field, physically, mentally, and skill-wise. So he's a rare breed of cricketer, and he's an inspirational one of the best I've ever watched in my life across every format. And what I like about Virat the most is his passion, his personality, that the fact that he's not scared to have his emotions visible on the field, whether he's captaining a side or whether he's just fighting a lone battle, trying to get India to victory. And the fact that he's an old-fashioned cricketer, isn't it? Not a lot of high fancy shots, just old-fashioned cricketing strokes, but deadly effective and incredibly consistent. So, there's nothing to dislike about Virat. He's someone I admire hugely and already a great at the game, and the opportunity to become maybe the greatest after the dawn. Rohit Sharma is another wonderful cricketer. I love watching Rohit bat. It reminds me of all those. He makes me jealous because I wish I could have that languid kind of approach and that kind of almost zero effort in batting. He's so graceful. He's so poised and balanced. And a wonderful captain for Mumbai Indians as well. So many cricketers around the world to admire and to watch and learn from, even from past cricketers like us.
Somebody that you watched and learned in your growing up days. I mean, I know you've always looked up to somebody like Aravinda, isn't it?
Yeah, Aravinda was fantastic. I used to love Vivian Richards. Of course, Brian Lara is my all-time favorite, along with Sir Viv and Aravinda. So it's a split.
Probably come to the final part, which is quite the rapid fire segment. It's called Real Quick with RJ. So I'm going to fire away a few questions to you. Tend to be precise. Would want your answers on that, right? First question: best sledging episode ever, with you or involving you?
Oh, well, it's Sean Pollock's one has been played quite a lot. I have had a few with Nasser Hussain, so I'll stick with the Polly one because that's been on TV a lot of times. There are others that maybe is not fit for a PG audience.
Censored. Yeah, I get it. Okay, right. Question number 2. If you would have wanted to play with 2 players from the bygone era, I mean, prior to when you were playing, who would those 2 players be in the same team?
I would have loved to have played with, bygone era. I think bygone, I would say Lara and Vaughan would have been amazing to play, or Lara and Akram. But further down the line, I would have loved to have just, watched Bradman live, Sobers. It would have been amazing to see all of that.
Okay. One sport that you love playing besides cricket, Sangha?
I love tennis. I've always loved tennis since I was young. I love playing golf, even though I don't play well. But they would be my favorites.
I think next time you're in Mumbai, we should catch up over a game of tennis. Definitely, Sangha.
Yes, we should. Yes,
sure. Right. One sport that you love watching besides cricket? Any particular sport that you love just watching it?
Tennis again. Love watching tennis. Love watching golf. I mean, sports. Anyone who plays cricket or any other sport, and it's really good. I love rugby, and so I watch a lot of sports, even lawn bowls. Sometimes switch it on and I think, oh, that's interesting, and I keep watching it. And it's more sports. I watch more sports, but like tennis and things like that are my favorite. Rugby, absolutely. I was a big motorsports fan in terms of Formula One during Schumacher's time, and then that slowly faded away.
Not into football as Mahela is, because he's a big Man United fan.
Yeah, easiest team to support, isn't it? He's a big Man United fan. I watched the World Cup, but I'm not a huge intimate follower of the EPL.
All right, your favorite movie of all time? Plenty.
Raging Bull, Shawshank Redemption, Yeah, a few others like that. There are quite a few. Can't pick one. But I give it you two.
Okay,
Legend of the
Shawshank has
Fall.
no. Shawshank has to be on everybody's list, isn't it? One of the best of all times, right? Favorite athlete of all time.
Favorite athlete of all time.
Yeah.
Oof, that's a tough one. Favorite tennis player of all time is definitely Roger Federer. I had to be a big Becker fan for a while, but then Roger ticks all the boxes. I think he's incredible. What loved Usain Bolt? I mean, who doesn't? You know, so I'll stay with them.
All right. Favorite ground to play cricket in?
Oh, I would say Gaul. Sorry. So Gaul would be my all-time favorite because I made my debut there. It's a beautiful ground.
All right. Okay. If you're allowed that one meal for the rest of your life, Sangha, what would that one meal be? That's the only meal that you can have from now on.
If I just have some steamed rice and some coconut sambal, pol sambal as we call it in Sri Lanka, just those two, I don't need anything else.
Brilliant. Okay. What is that one quality or trait or a stroke that you would have wanted to borrow from any of your contemporaries? Quality, trait, stroke, anything.
Aravinda De Silva's pull and hook.
All righty. Okay. One final question. I've got to ask this. The one household work that you can now finally claim to be an expert at.
Washing the dishes.
All right. All right. Lovely. Well, listen, Sangha, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and being a very, very special guest on the RK Show. Absolutely love this conversation. Thank you, Sangha, and take care.
Pleasure, RK. Take care. Speak soon.
Thank you. Thanks so much.